Monday, June 7th. Why does June 7th feel like it's a day that I should know? I'm not sure. But maybe not. Anyway, it's hot and muggy outside, but I'm going out anyway. And I'm late again today, as usual. Good morning, it's Barbara. When I stay in bed too late. It's hot when I get out here. But I'm in the shade anyway. And I'm with a lot of birds. And nobody's mowing at the moment. Of course, nobody was mowing when I started yesterday either. Happy Monday. I hope you are all well. I'm feeling pretty good considering I stayed up way too late last night. Way too late last night. I was exercising yesterday and I found 4 more bins of books, including a couple of the books I was looking for. I've been exercising. You're going to be so proud of me. I've been exercising. Well, my knee's been bothering me. Not as bad as it was last summer, but it's been bothering me, but apparently not enough to get me to exercise. I mean, you know, I exercised like 2 weeks ago one time and whatever. But we got a catalog in the mail of from Overseas Adventure Travel, which is the company where we do our travel vacations with, our cool vacations we've been having in the last few years. And, you know, it's a huge, you can't even see my hands, it's huge, thick, heavy book. I can't believe it's cost effective for them to send that to everybody, but they do. And I was going through it because it's like, you know, a travel magazine. And I was sitting there realizing that there are very, very few adventures in that book that I can do with my knee not working well. So I'm like, okay, I gotta start getting my knee better. So I started exercising. Well, whatever it takes, right? Now, we have no plans to go on any of these vacations. We wouldn't do anything before 2022 for sure, because we have our getting out of the house stuff already planned for 2021. But anyway, I was going through that and said, I got to get my knee back in order. So I started exercising. So I've been doing my exercises for the last few days. I mean, let's not get carried away. It hasn't been that long. But I've been doing them. And one of my exercises is you've got to use a big giant rubber band and have it attached to something super solid. And then you pull against it, you know, resistance. Well, I don't have much that's very super solid that I can tie a giant rubber band around that I would feel comfortable, you know, putting a lot of pressure on. I suppose the banister would work, but, you know. So anyway, I have it wrapped around the giant poles in the basement that are holding the house up. Now, I don't think I have the strength to pull my house down, so I thought that would be okay. And so I was standing in the basement doing my exercise, and I spied 4 more bins of books that I hadn't seen when I was down there looking for books. So I went through those bins and found 1 or 2 of the books that I had actually been looking for, and a couple books that I hadn't been looking for but that were interesting to me. I didn't find all the books I was looking for, so maybe I should exercise in another part of the basement, and maybe I'll find more bins. Who knows? But anyway, so I ended up with a pile of books, which meant I ended up starting a book way too late in the day, and so I stayed up really, really late last night because I had to finish it. And this is a book I've read before, but I'm weird. I'm weird. So anyway, I stayed up really late last night, and you'd think after having a bad night the night before that staying up late would mean I slept pretty well, but I had trouble falling asleep even after that. Even after reading a book I already knew, and I already know what's going to happen. So I was in bed later than usual, but whatever. Anyway, I feel fine. Coffee's a miracle drug. Really, really a miracle drug. Dennis brought me a coffee in bed. Because he's a wonderful, lovely man. He really is. So anyway, I feel like you're taller than you should. There, that's better. I'm using my little selfie stick thing that seems to be working pretty good. So that's good. So I had quite the social day yesterday. I knit on my boxy while I Zoomed with Valerie and Lisa yesterday on Valerie's Sunday Zoom call. She has a standing Zoom meeting every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And there is a link in our Ravelry group that where you can find the link for that. If you want to join, everyone is welcome, and that was a lovely thing to do. So I had a little visit with Valerie and Lisa and worked on my boxy. And then last night was my Crafting with Christy night, and so I worked on my temperature library. My temperature library is looking really cool. I'm not quite up to date, but I was way behind because we hadn't met last week, and so I had 13 books to do, and I did 11 of them. So I will have 9 books to do next Sunday, which I just made plans to stay overnight at my brother's next Sunday, so. And the Sunday after that, I will be at my sister's. So I'm going to be really behind, or I'm going to have to come up with a new plan and figure out another time perhaps to craft with Christy, or anyway, I'll have to figure out another plan now that I'm saying that out loud, because I'm going to go visit my parents before I end up going to visit my sister and see my cute needle minder. That's Hildegard of Bingen. I hope you can see it. It's in the shadow. Needle minder that Christy made me. Gave me for Mother's Day, so that's fun. I have enjoyed having Hildegard on my bookcase, so I'll have to talk to Dr. Christy about when we can get together, since I seem to be making plans to mess up our normal day. But I thought I'd go visit my parents before I go to Boise and visit my sister. So there you go. So that's what I did yesterday crafting-wise. I did work a little bit more on my La Boca picture, but I got sidetracked by my book, and so I didn't finish it, and I didn't work on my second landscape, my side-by-side landscape. I did work on the other one. I did a little more ink on it, and I worked on my La Boca, and then I ended up reading. So, whatever. But when I was working on my paintings, not yesterday, but the day before, I forgot to tell you, I was sitting there and I had the TV on the YouTube channel, but I wasn't watching anything. So it was just like at the recommendations page of my YouTube. I'm sitting there painting, and all of a sudden my TV goes nuts. It's just like changing the channel and doing this. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And then I hear Maisie crunching on a bone. She had gotten the clicker, and she was crunching on the remote control. I'm like, ugh. But she didn't. I took it away right away. I mean, luckily I was sitting there and realized something's wrong. And she's not as destructive as she used to be, or as that Pearl was when Pearl did things like that. But I'm sure she could have done a real number on it if she had been given more time. But I rescued the clicker before it got ruined. Gave her a bone instead. But I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, what the heck's going on with that television? That's crazy talk. So anyway. Life with Big Dog. Big dog. And it's funny because Maisie was sitting out here in the sun when I came out, and Pearl came out with me and turned around and went back in, and I guess Maisie went back in with her. My dogs are air conditioning dogs. They sit on, our air conditioning vents are in the floor, and they just lay there with their heads on top of the vents. So they're the air conditioning dogs. So they're no longer out here with me. It is not lovely out here. It is bright and sunny, but the humidity is quite high. I think the dew point is like 72 degrees or something, really high. So, but my mints are going like crazy. I harvested a little mint yesterday and pulled some weeds, and they're going great. I'm very excited about my mint. Very excited. I'm on my last iris out in my garden, so soon I will have to go and pull the weeds around the irises and lay the last bag of mulch in that flower bed. And so that'll be my gardening. I am planning, there are 2 little window boxes on the shed, and when I sit out here, this is my view, and I have weeds in my window boxes. When I first started using the shed, which is where my lamp working studio is, I didn't want the plants to be too big because I didn't want to cover the window. I had some idea that the light from the window was going to be useful to me. But it turns out they're very small. It's not on the sunny side of the building, and Dennis's side of the shed, he doesn't use the light from the window either. It's very well lit inside. So I had originally only bought very low plants that hung over, and it's a very shady side. It's as shady as this for almost the entire day. So I couldn't get any flowers for my window boxes because there are not any good low, really super low shady flowers that I could find at the time I was looking. But now that we're not really using the shed very much, and we realize that the windows are not as useful as they could be, I am planning on getting some flowers that will look good in the shade, that will work in the shade, to put in those window boxes to improve my view, and yours, while I sit out here. I also might do something. This flower bed in front of the shed has a stilby, but the other flowers that I planted in there have not survived. So I can do some gardening, put in some flowers there, and just really improve my view while I'm sitting on the deck having a cocktail, or we are talking, and it would be nice to see some flowers back there. So that's my plan for that, I think. One of these days. Who knows when. I mean, by the time I get around to that, it's probably going to be the end of June, beginning of July. It feels a little late to be planting flowers, but, better late than never, so they say. Oh, so the other thing I wanted to tell you is the other night, Dennis and I watched the first chapter in what looks like it's going to be a really interesting series on YouTube. It's a historical piece about the eradication of smallpox. Smallpox is the only disease that has had worldwide eradication. Now, it actually exists in some labs now, which doesn't make me happy to know that, frankly, but it was declared eradicated in 1980, I think, by the World Health Organization. And the people who do the Fall of Civilization podcast that I've recommended many times, some of those same people are involved in doing this. It's a documentary series on the history of smallpox and the eradication of smallpox. And it's called Vaccine, which of course makes it really hard to find when you search on YouTube, because vaccine is like You know, everybody's talking about vaccines. So anyway, I will post a link below to this YouTube series if you have any interest. Only the first episode is out, and it's about a half an hour. It's not long. It's not like Fall of Civ, which is like an hour and a half, 2 hours. But it was really interesting, and it looks like it's really well done. So if you have any interest in that, sort of the history of the possibility of eradicating disease, they talk about how it was done once, back when the world was a place that could cooperate with each other and, you know, do good in the world, which doesn't seem like now, frankly. But we enjoyed it, and I thought you might be interested in it, so I'll put a link below because it'll be hard to find if you just search on YouTube. So there's my PSA for today. But like I said, only the first episode is up on YouTube at the moment, and I don't know how often they're planning on putting episodes up, so I don't have any more information than that other than I enjoyed it and I, you know, recommend it. So I just wanted to tell you about that. So also a reminder that this coming Saturday is our Saturday Zoom, monthly Zoom call. It is at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 11 a.m. Pacific Time, and 7 in Ireland, maybe? And early evening, late afternoon, early evening Europe time. You guys know better than me. So please join us. We have a good time, and it's a really lovely way to get together and do some crafting with friends. And so mark your calendar for Saturday, June 12th at 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I didn't want you to forget that. So anyway, I'm feeling good considering I didn't sleep great last night or the night before. I hope to do some painting today, and I will definitely be doing some knitting on my boxy. And I did bring up a stack of books, which may mean I don't do anything but read. It's not a lovely day to be outside, even though it looks gorgeous. Maybe it'll be nicer in the early evening. And so maybe Dennis and I can be out here for a few minutes. But meanwhile, I'll be in doing fun things, I hope. I might switch my clothes because I don't think I'm going to need my heavy sweaters anymore. I think that ship has sailed. So I might spend a few minutes doing something productive, unlike knitting or painting or reading. Which I consider the product of those me. I haven't heard from Maura. She's on her road trip with Kim to her brother, so presumably everything is fine and she's having a good time, you know. As my mother always said, no news is good news. So, but I'll text her just to make sure. And I will let you know tomorrow if I remember, but I'm not remembering things. So I will let you go. I will talk to you tomorrow. Please take good care of yourselves, please, please, and stay safe and stay sane.